All right. Welcome. Happy New Year, everybody. This is Wei here at the Six Figure Academy for the Money Lab Live podcast on YouTube Live. As usual, we always start a little bit early, and I'm looking at the camera and I realize this is a shirt that I will never wear again on camera because look at that. It's actually mesmerizing, at least from my point of view. Would love to hear your comments about that one. It's actually hypnotic in this weird sense. I kind of like, so, if it's distracting you, don't stare at my shirt or go off and go into our Spreaker app, which is where we're going to be having the audio only version, okay? Or avert your eyes so that you don't get hypnotized at the beginning of the week while you're listening to the show. Ideally, you probably got a chance to not work yesterday. But anyway, we'll talk more about it. It's top of the hour. Let me go ahead and take a pause right here and start the Spreaker version. Okay, here we go. Stay tuned. Hold on. The usual. Okay. All right. Welcome to the Money Lab live podcast, episode number 44. How to start off the new year as an entrepreneur. All right. Welcome back to another live broadcast of the Money Lab podcast from the Six Figure Academy. I am your host, Wei Hong, and Happy New Year, everybody. It is 2018. I'm so lucky that our show just falls right after the day, January 1st. So this is the podcast where we give you tips, strategies, and interviews with other entrepreneurs on how to create the ultimate six-figure entrepreneurial lifestyle, free of bad money stories, money anxiety, and stress. Now, if you haven't already downloaded our free book, From Money Anxiety to Six-Figure Mastery, make sure you go to go.thesixfigureacademy.com. That's http:// go.thesixfigureacademy.com and get it there. It's the perfect complement to all the things we discuss on the show. And quite frankly, it could change your life. Now, if you are joining us live today and you're not on YouTube Live, hello, YouTube Live people, make sure you get on Spreaker.com or download the Spreaker app on your mobile device and search for the hashtag #TheMoneyLab so that you can join us in the chat room and ask questions, interact with us and our guests when we have a guest, or even request a specific topic to discuss that which will support you in your quest for your ideal six-figure lifestyle. Now, while you're there, subscribe so you don't miss an episode and catch us every week. For all other ways to find us, go to thesixfigureacademy.com/radio for all the details. And if there's something you love about what you hear on this episode today that you know could help someone you care about, remember, sharing is caring. Share the show to that person. We make it really easy to share, okay? So welcome to the show, everybody. Hello, YouTube livers out there, or if you're watching this after it's live, then hello anyway. I'm waving at the camera. For those who are on the Spreaker app on your phone, you probably don't see me waving. But a couple quick announcements about those of you out there who would like to come see me speak. For those of you who don't know, I do a lot of speaking. I do a lot of training in person live. So there's a couple times I'm actually speaking live this year already in January. The first is for a local event. It's called MAPS. It's really about, I'm actually not sure what that stands for. For years, I've known about it, and I've actually spoken there before. But that's on January 9th from 8:30 to 10:50 a.m. Our meeting, the meeting is going to be at Brookdale Senior Living over on 5481 West Torrance Boulevard in Torrance, California. The topic that I'll be talking about is limitless motivation without burning out. The request was to have me come in, kick off the year right for that group, and do a little bit of motivational talking, but not your typical one. We really get down to the science behind it, as well as getting you excited about it. So, and then the next time I'm speaking this month is on January 12th to January 14th. I'll be in Austin, Texas. For those of you who are hearing this and you're maybe in Austin, come check it out. It's called Blueprint Live 2018. And I think that event's all about developing your own blueprint to big corporate contracting and business success. So if you are the type of business or you are the type of entrepreneur that your bread and butter is developing contracts with big corporations, you might want to check out that event. Okay. When I'm speaking, I'll be talking about re-engineering bad money stories and giving them the blueprint to corporate contracting success. If for more information, go to www.blueprintlive2018.com. Okay, so those are quick announcements. So let's get right into the show. Now, this month is all about starting things off right as an entrepreneur to launch into the year. I know we hear this all the time. I know we have people, coaches and trainers and teachers out there that's always talking about start the year off right, do X, Y, Z or ABC and do all these different things. And the goal really is to create the most momentum possible coming right out of the gate. And I talk about this for those of you who follow my Facebook Live. I talked about it last week before we went into kind of like giving a heads up on this is what needs to be done as an entrepreneur to move into the year to hit the ground running. Now, it might not be what you think, okay? This whole creating the momentum thing, because we hear it all the time. Set your, New Year's resolutions and, take action steps and everything like that. But we see this all the time, not just in entrepreneurship, but also in our personal life where people say, I'm going to go to the gym every day this year and I'm going to lose weight and I'm going to get in better shape. I'm going to eat better and all these different things. And then all of a sudden, about 2 weeks in, those big, high, lofty goals seem to lose their steam and not move forward. The same thing also happens in entrepreneurship, that you go year after year, especially if your business is kind of just like complacent and it's there, or even if it's just starting out. We get ourselves all excited about doing something, and then all of a sudden, 2, 3 weeks in, the momentum is gone. Okay, so what we want to talk about today, and probably over the next few weeks, with or without a guest, is to address this whole month being the big momentum shifter, to create as much momentum as possible. So right off the gates, you have an amazing Q1, first quarter, calendar quarter of the year. And then from there, you build up to the second quarter. And quite frankly, if you build up momentum up into right before summertime, the rest of the year, you could be actually riding that wave and riding that momentum and start thinking about creating the momentum, taking this year's momentum into next year. Okay. So if you would like to do that, let's really get into the nitty gritty of this. And if you're listening to us live, make sure you chime in into the chat section. The Spreaker station, the Spreaker app actually gives you a chat screen. If you look on the YouTube live, there's also a chat screen there. Okay, so really, really important. Chime in when you can. Ask any questions. This year, we're going to put a lot into creating even more value, getting even more guests, getting a variety of different guests to help you create that six-figure lifestyle. It's not just about the money. It's also about the six-figure thought process, the mindset, the things you have, the relationships you have, the health that you have. All things come into play. And if you want to make the money, the kind of money that you would ever have dreamt about as an entrepreneur, one of the things you have to do is you have to have your entire life reflected. How many times have we heard of people making a ton of money, but then their life or their health completely fails on them? That is not what I call success. And that is not what you should be calling success either, no matter how hard people are selling it to you. In the six-figure academy, we're all about creating that six-figure lifestyle, which goes beyond money. Okay, so let's make a commitment for those of you who are following this podcast to really kind of help me actually help you shape this podcast this year to become the best podcast, best contribution, or best value resource for you as an entrepreneur, or even if you're not, or if you're thinking about an entrepreneur, like our guest last week, who's just taking the leap again to become an entrepreneur, to really be there for you, kind of as a partner. Okay. So what we talk about all the time is with our students and our clients, we talk about avoiding the new year entrepreneurial hangover. Now, we all know what a regular hangover is. You drink too much, you wake up and you're like slow the whole day, or you're just like nursing that headache, whatever it is, okay? We're not talking about that. Although that may have some contribution to your entrepreneur hangover, it is not the main reason, okay? What would cause this entrepreneurial hangover? Let's say, for example, you rocked it hard all last year, you busted your butt or not, and you kind of like, head to the grindstone and rocked, just really, really worked it last year, created some massive results. And then you hit the New Year's, you're just like, oh my God, I am so exhausted and so ridiculous. Or maybe you party too hard and same thing, okay? So what that hangover is, let's talk about that, is it's an indicator of entrepreneurial fatigue. If you coming into the new year are thinking back and it's like, oh my God, what a year. I'm so exhausted. What you're feeling right there is entrepreneurial fatigue, which means it gives you a little bit of feedback that this year you probably want to do things a little bit differently so you don't go into 2019 feeling the same way. Because quite frankly, if you are doing things right and you're managing things right in your entrepreneurial journey year after year, I hate to say that, but New Year's is just another day. And at the same time, it should be a boost of energy, a boost of excitement and thinking back everything that's going on instead of feeling exhausted. Now I get it. There's some things that we're doing during the holiday season where we're talking to family or hanging out with family or doing things that are outside of business that could exhaust us as well. But I'm not talking about physical exhaustion. I'm talking about energetic exhaustion, emotional exhaustion, mental exhaustion, physical exhaustion. I'm not just telling you from um, from our experience with our clients and our students and everything, but also from my own personal experience as well. Having gone through this way too many times and then seeing our clients go through the same thing, and then from there being able to shift that so they don't experience it anymore. This is why I know that this is a big deal, because that entrepreneur fatigue, if you consistently do this over and over again, year after year, and it starts to show up not just at the new year, but every quarter, every month, it will lead to stress. Okay. And if you don't know this statistic already, I'll share this with you. The American Institute of Stress has indicated that stress, bad stress anyway, at the workplace is responsible for costing businesses about around in total as a whole in the United States about $300 billion a year. That's a lot of money. And if you're an entrepreneur, you're part of that 300 billion, whether it be it's caught you are the one that's stressed out or your team's stressed out or whatever the case may be. What we're talking about today is going to help alleviate a lot of that, okay, to eliminate that entrepreneurial fatigue. So that's what that hangover is. Okay. So how do we resolve that piece? How do we make sure that we get that handled? So we got to bring it back home. Okay. And what I mean by home is bring it back to you. Remember, as an entrepreneur, you are a direct reflection of your business. How healthy you are will ultimately manifest in how healthy your business is. How well you take care of yourself is really going to show up how well you take care of your business. And I don't care what anybody says as well. If you got good systems and strategies and everything like that, it doesn't matter. If you are the founder, or if you're the entrepreneur, the creator of the business, and even if it's not like something that maybe you're like a franchise owner, it doesn't matter. Your energy, your being is a critical part of that entire process of making sure that you are successful. So what we always talk about here at the Six Figure Academy is about making sure that you engage all four bodies of prosperity. Like I said, I'm not going to go into too much depth about this. For those of you who have received our ebook, talking about from money anxiety to six figure mastery, I address it in depth there. And we also do it in our 5-part e-series that comes with that. I talk about it all the time in all of my content. Check out our YouTube channel. We have a whole. So for today's podcast, because there's so much more that I want to go through as well, I'm just going to touch base really quickly on how to make sure that you engage all four bodies of prosperity. In case you forgot, or in case you don't know, the four bodies of prosperity that are really important, that are critical to our success as entrepreneurs, are basically this. Okay, you got your energetic body, you've got your mental body, your emotional body, and your physical body. Okay, just to let you know, when we're first born, our most developed part of our four bodies of prosperity, of success in our life, at any age, when we're first born, actually our energetic body is actually the most developed. Our mental body is barely even there. Our emotional body is probably number 2. And our physical body, I mean, if you look at babies, they can't even hold their head up. Okay. So it's totally not developed. So if you wanted to put in order, when the baby is first born, his energetic body is number 1, that's developed. Number 2 is emotional body. You immediately come out and you start to cry, laugh, You start to explore that before you even start to explore your physical body. The mental body is last, and that's why our academic system, our schools and everything focus so much on the mental body. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, academia primarily feeds your mental body. This is why I got kind of upset when they started taking music out, when they started taking physical education out or reduce it into from our school system, because that basically atrophies the other bodies of prosperity necessary for adults to become congruently successful, sustainably successful. Okay. So, how do we then engage all four bodies of prosperity? So, for this year, you want to think about this. It's like, okay, how do I engage my energetic body better? You want to incorporate energy rejuvenation and management practices if you already don't already have them. Now, a lot of the people in my community, in terms of my peers and colleagues who work in the energy field, this is stuff they do all the time. So they may not need something else. Okay, so they might look at some other body of prosperity if they're looking to augment their business or grow in 2018. So incorporate energy rejuvenation and management. Like it could be as simple as meditation or meditative walks, or breath work, okay, breathing more, that type of thing, okay, bringing more energy or taking more breaks, during your workday. Remember, you shouldn't be working consistently nonstop for more than 60 to 90 minutes at a time, because studies have shown across the board, and I don't care how much of a superhero you are, that your productivity drops precipitously after 90 minutes of concentrated, focused work. Okay, so you might want to take that in consideration. And one of the best ways to do it is just kind of look at your own life and look at your schedule and what you've been doing prior to this year. Now, how about the next body, the emotional body? Okay, the emotional body, the way to address that really is start to get real with your emotions. One of the biggest challenges that we have as human beings is that we're not raised to truly be honest about how we're feeling in the moment. It's either not appropriate, we're not allowed to express it, or it's just not right. Okay, for example, when I grew up, um I was taught basically one emotion for every emotion, to express one emotion for every emotion. Where there's fear, there's sadness, and there's hurt. Anger was the expression, okay? And unfortunately, I learned that from my father, and it's not his fault either, because he grew up being taught almost the same thing. So it's like generation to generation being passed down. There was no massive distinction between the more challenging emotions. Happiness is cool, because it felt good, right? Elation, pride, all these different types of positive emotions, people just didn't have as much of a challenge. But when it came to negative emotion, there's a fear of judgment or fear of vulnerability, of expressing sadness the way sadness should be expressed by yourself. Everybody has their own way of doing it. Why does it have to be masked by something else like anger, right? When you're hurt, express that you're hurt. When you're feeling down, express that you're down. But, getting real with your emotions is one of the first steps to engaging that body of prosperity, because otherwise you're just sweeping it under the carpet and it becomes atrophied. Your emotional body becomes atrophied. So then it starts to act out on its own in the most inconvenient circumstances, especially when it comes to business and comes to work. So you want to get real with the emotions. Okay. So that's how you engage the emotional body of prosperity. The next body of prosperity is get physical. Okay. And there's a reason why I put mental body last, and I'll tell you that in a second. But get physical, you know, let's get physical. No, not that way. Not, well, I mean, I guess you could, but, but getting physical is basically what I mean by that is getting your body moving again. Okay. We have become such a efficiency, accomplishment focused society that is ultimately increasingly sedentary. Now, yes, there has been a shift. There's been a shift in encouraging people, with all this CrossFit and all these different types of ways of working out. Beachbody now has their all their entire programs that you can stream right into your house, so it gets those sedentary people off the couch and start moving again. So yes, have been a lot of big changes and shifts. But when it comes to you, you want to pay attention. When it comes to you want to pay attention to how you're actually engaging. Like this past weekend, I made a commitment to say, you know what? I love the game of volleyball. I haven't been out as much this past year in 2017. And this weekend, I made sure I got out there a couple times because there were times to do it. And really, if I get my schedule right, it doesn't take that much out of the day. I go out there for a couple hours, get some games in, come back, get washed up, and go and then get the rest of my day going. Most of the people that I play with like to play in the morning so they can have the entire day. So for me, that's my commitment to this year in 2000 get I'm already pretty physical in terms of working out 3 to 4, maybe 5 days a week, depending on how well we plan it out with my workout partner, workout buddy. But, you know, getting physical and getting your entire body in motion helps you keep all your cells in sync. And what I mean by that is this is I talk about this in one of our in our deeper courses where I explain that how, it's not the brain that's only responsible for learning things and being able to implement things. Our entire body is made out of cells. And as such, we need to be able to incorporate the entire body to create a high level of physical success. And especially when we're talking about the technology that we use now with HumanOp, is that we take physical intelligence. In order to get an accurate bead and understanding of your physical intelligence, you need to be in relatively good physical shape, ideally in great physical shape. And what that means is it's not just working out, but it's also your health, it's also your nutrition, all those different things. So get physical with your body, get intimate with it, and try to truly understand what do we need to do this year to make you feeling physically better so that you can get more in touch and align it with all the other bodies of prosperity. If you're thinking about this already, you'll notice that everything is linked. Okay. So speaking of which, let's go to the last body. How do you engage the mental body of the prosperity? Here's the biggest challenge. I think one of the big things, because of everything that's going on in our lives with technology and social media and how fast information is coming in, one of the things that you could do to engage is simply to quiet the mind. Quiet the mind and optimize the self-talk and the language. What I mean by that is quieting the mind and just kind of observing what kind of language is running through your head, how you are interpreting situations, how you're perceiving circumstances, what language shows up, and just being aware of what is talking in your mind when you're looking at something, when you're observing at something, when you're engaging with somebody, and what kind of language shows up. Now, one of the best ways to capture that is to just get a journal, okay, and just write it all down. If you guys been following me, I just yesterday picked up my journal for 2018, and it's a really cool journal that reflects a little bit more of what I'm getting into this year. It feels good. I mean, there's like a velvet cover on it, and it has gratitude on it, and it's really cool. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can go to my my personal Instagram. And you can see it there. But anyway, so those are the ways that you engage all 4 bodies of prosperity. Now, when I talk about the new year, inevitably someone talks about resolutions. And I saw so many posts on Facebook talking about, do you believe in resolutions and everything like that. But people forget, resolution is just another word for goals. Okay. You resolve to achieve these goals, and that's what they call resolutions. And for someone to say, I don't believe in resolutions, is it then you don't believe in goals? It's really funny, and me being a trainer of neurolinguistics and everything and understanding, have this passion, obsession with language, I find it really funny how people like to use language as a way to hinge their belief systems or to support a belief system that no longer support or don't support them. Like they believe that resolutions never worked from the past, so they don't believe in resolutions. Well, let me rephrase that then. Let me rebrand resolution. Do you believe in goals? Okay. And so when I talk to people about resolutions, and you may or may not agree on this one, but that's okay. I mean, we can agree to disagree, but here's my thought about resolutions, okay? Especially when it comes to New Year's. When you tack on the fact that it's done at New Year's and it's a resolution for the entire year, we will notice that throughout the years, especially as adults, that sometimes when we set New Year's resolutions, they work, and sometimes they don't. What I'm here to talk about today is to explain why it works and why it doesn't work, okay? And how to consistently make sure that you're aware of why it doesn't work and why it does work, okay? I'm not going to give you a massive all-in-one solution because everybody's different. I just want to help bring a little awareness so that you can kind of take responsibility of why resolutions don't work instead of blaming resolutions or blaming New Year's resolutions as not a methodology that works. How do we then make a methodology that has worked for countless others work for you? How do we adapt it to your unique way of being? That's the key right there. Okay, because there really is, I mean, as long as one strategy works for somebody in this world, there is a way to adapt it to make it work for you. There is never really a bad strategy out there unless it's a strategy that was made up and has never worked for anybody and someone's tried to sell it as that it is the way to go. That's a bad strategy. Okay, that probably doesn't work. But if you know for a fact that a particular strategy has worked for someone in the past, but it doesn't really seem to work for you, that just means that it was implemented in a way that was unique to that individual. And your job at that point is to take elements of that strategy that does work for you, infuse the bridge gaps of the ones that don't, parts of the strategy that don't work. Okay. And this applies for everything, not just resolutions. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what I've seen and why resolutions often don't work. Okay. Oftentimes, resolutions don't work because there isn't enough commitment to the ROI. Okay. And I'm only mentioning that because most of the people listening to the show are entrepreneurs. So you can probably appreciate the concept of ROI or the ROI, the return on investment on your commitment to that resolution just isn't compelling enough. How many times, let me ask you, have you set a New Year's resolution that you just really weren't committed to, that you just set it just because it sounded good, but inside you're like, I'm really not going to do it. I'm not really motivated to achieve that resolution. Okay, that's when you basically set yourself up to not to add to your belief system that resolutions don't work. You want to make sure, first and foremost, that whatever resolution that you set, that there is enough commitment to that return on investment of putting time into achieving that resolution, that it's worth it for you. If it's not, then don't set it as a resolution just because everybody else thinks you should do it. I mean, it's like one of the most common things is everybody else is telling me I should lose weight. So this year I'm going to lose weight. Why? Because everybody is telling me to, because I want to feel better and look better. Really? No, really. Why do you personally want to set that New Year's resolution goal? Okay. Now, here's another reason why sometimes they don't work. Okay. Most resolutions are not easy resolutions. Most of the time, when people set New Year's resolution, they think they have to set it for the whole entire year. So, in its entirety, in that moment when you're setting that resolution, it is challenging the comfort zone of your unconscious mind. So, let me tell you something about your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind loves to take the shortest route from A to B to get something done. Okay. This is what makes the unconscious mind so powerful. It is uber efficient. When it learns how to achieve a certain result, in the beginning, it might be a little bit tough and challenging, but ultimately its job is to shorten that process. Okay. If you spent your entire life driving your car, if for those of you who do drive, the way you drove it when you first learned how to drive, it would be really inefficient. Okay. And possibly probably be really stressful. At some point, your unconscious mind took over and said, great, you already know how to do this. You don't have to consciously think about it. This makes it quicker and easier. And you start to make shortcuts in how you drive. Instead of using two hands to make a turn, sometimes you just do a palm turn just to make it easier. Okay. Not that it's the right or wrong way of doing it, but your unconscious mind in play right there trying to shorten things. So here's the thing. If your unconscious mind's goal is to consistently create shortcuts so that you become more and more efficient, and that way there's less stress, like, constant stress on the body or the mind. Then when you set a resolution that challenges strategies that your unconscious mind has spent maybe a lifetime developing, it's basically challenging the comfort zone. Your unconscious mind goes like, whoa, 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 why are we doing this? And if you don't give me a reason as to why this is better, I'm going to fight you every step of the way until your conscious mind, which is the weaker part of the mind compared to the unconscious mind, gives up. So the commitment falls apart and the resolution falls apart. So unless you're setting a resolution like, okay, I want to lose 2 pounds this year, you're probably going to get that resolution because it's not really challenging the comfort zone. Quite frankly, you just take a diuretic and lose some water weight, and you probably lost 2 pounds. Okay, so because most resolutions are set challenging the comfort zone, keep in mind that your unconscious mind is going to initially fight that, and this is why you have to make sure there's a high enough commitment to that return on investment on battling that unconscious mind, negotiating with your unconscious mind so that you can actually have a better end result. Okay. Here's another reason why, and the reason why I keep talking about they don't work, because embedded when when where it doesn't work is the solution. Okay. So now most resolutions aren't followed up with a step of micro solutions to achieve the big resolution. Okay. If you've ever set a goal before, you will notice that in order to achieve that goal, you often have to break it down to bite-sized pieces. Resolutions are no different. Here's where most people mess up. They write down their New Year's resolutions. They write it all in their book and everything like that. And entrepreneurs, they're no different than other. And most people who aren't entrepreneurs that set New Year's resolution do this as well. In fact, a lot of times it's even worse because, as an entrepreneur, you kind of have to have that discipline of breaking things down, taking step by step. Otherwise, you would get nothing done. And if you're not an entrepreneur, sometimes you just show up to work and just do your thing and you don't even have to do any of that, depending on what kind of job that you have. So now here's this, is that if you are setting a New Year's resolution for your business or for your life or for any body of prosperity, and you aren't following up with a step of micro resolutions to achieve that big resolution, then you're setting yourself up for a very challenging journey in achieving your New Year's resolution. Much like goals that have milestones within them to make digestible, you have to break it down. Someone gives you a big piece of turkey, you're not going to try to stuff the whole turkey in your mouth, right? That doesn't make sense. Your unconscious mind has already figured that out. What we want to do this year is train our unconscious mind to realize when you set a goal that's too big, to immediately recognize that. Okay, recognize that and start to break it down to bite-sized pieces that eventually lead there. Okay, if you are a golfer and you're always trying to do a hole in one, all or nothing, then you're going to be a pretty poor golfer. But understanding how to break down each hole into bite-sized pieces. Now, here's the thing. If you've ever played golf before, you will never play the same hole the same way. Think about it this way. You will never play the same hole the same. You will never hit the ball to the exact same place on the fairway. You will never chip or hit or strike the ball exactly the same way and how it lands on the green. Okay, you never putt the same way for every single. No hole will be played the same way exactly. Even if you got the best pro golfer on there, might be close, but it'll never get to that. Why? There's so many different variables involved, and we as human beings, we have to honor the fact that we're so adaptable and so flexible. Your goals are the same way. Your resolutions are the same way. Even if you set the same resolution every single year, your milestones and how you achieve that resolution or that goal is going to be slightly different every single time. So don't get caught up. Be caught up with more like the joy of how different it's going to be each and every single time, because that is what's going to help you become consistent at hitting your goals, hitting your resolutions. Okay, this is how we start to create some really exciting momentum, okay, on how to start the year off right as an entrepreneur to really get to where we want to go for the first time, maybe for the first time ever, that you set these resolutions, these goals, and create these milestones and break things down. It is absolutely worth it. And if it's not worth it, if you're not excited about breaking down the bits and pieces, you need to pay attention to that as well. In other words, get real with your emotions. If you're not excited about it, then that's a sign. That is a sign that maybe that goal isn't the right goal for you. Or maybe you need to restructure that goal so you do get excited about all the different pieces needed to get there. Because once you get there, what's the payoff? What can you ultimately achieve? Okay. So hopefully that was helpful about talking about resolutions and goals and milestones and what you should do to kind of help build that momentum moving forward. So that leads us to, wrapping up with what do we do to starting today? Now, I said we're going to be talking a lot about this all month long in the next 3 other episodes. But I really wanted to kick us off this week with talking about how we should start. And let's start with the big picture. Okay. One of the best ways, I mean, when I came out of this holiday I have to admit, I went in there a little bit slow. I was going into the holiday season a little bit slow, and so it took me a little bit of time to, "Okay, great. I got all these people to build momentum." I talk about this as, "What about my momentum?" And, there was a big significant shift, and one of the biggest shift happened when I kind of reconnected with myself and I got to myself. And, I even picked up a new book yesterday called Oasis in Time. And that's another thing we're going to be doing this year. We're going to do more deeper dives into books that I'm reading, books that about that can help us, and talking about different topics, almost like a podcast open air book club. I'll be either doing it on the podcast or maybe on a Facebook Live. But really, um, there's this book called Oasis in Time, which kind of supports a lot of what I help our students and clients do, which is taking a day out every single week to just be with self. And that really is kind of like what I had to do this past weekend, to make sure that I came into 2018 in the right space, with my four bodies of prosperity, with my state of mind, and everything like that. And one of the questions that I posed to myself and had to remind myself is, why are you here on the planet? What are you here to do in this lifetime? Now, as an entrepreneur, this should be a really palatable question. It's not like a jarring, like, wow, what do you mean talking about? What am I doing on this planet? Because there's no reason for you to be an entrepreneur unless you're looking to make an impact. Seriously. Okay. I say this all the time when I go do a speaking events. I look at the entrepreneurs as, how many of you are entrepreneurs in this room? And when I speak to a room full of entrepreneurs, almost everybody raises their hand. And I will basically tell them, y'all are crazy. Okay. Because nobody in their right mind would become an entrepreneur. Okay. And if you became an entrepreneur thinking that life would be easier from a work standpoint, or from a task standpoint, or from a responsibility standpoint, you're kidding yourself. Go back to getting a job. And there's nothing wrong with getting a job. It's just that being an entrepreneur is a little bit crazy, because you're basically taking on the responsibilities of running an entire company. You're not just doing a specific focused task and job. Now, eventually you could get that way as an entrepreneur if you do things right and you leverage and you delegate properly. But in the beginning, it's a nutsoid endeavor. Okay. So when I ask the question, why are you here on this planet? What are you here to do? One of the biggest reasons why an entrepreneur becomes an entrepreneur, because they're here to do something. They're here to make a difference, make an impact. It's more than just about making money. And in the beginning, if it's just that, that's okay, because maybe that's what it is. But if that becomes the only thing your entire life as an entrepreneur, then that's a problem. And that could actually lead you to burning out. Doesn't matter how much money you're making, because if you're only working for the money, then that's not enough. As an entrepreneur, that is not enough. If you're just looking to make money, then figure out a way of how to be hireable and get a job and just go there and make the money and use money to make money and become an investor, become an investor, basically. But as an entrepreneur, your business, your product, your service is here to do something. So you want to ask yourself that question. Why are you here on the planet? What are you here to do? One of the best ways to build up momentum and bring that excitement back to what it is that you're doing is to do that. Ask yourself those questions. Now, if you're having trouble answering that question, the hint is in the business that you've already chosen, or the businesses you've chosen in your past. If you are a serial entrepreneur like I am, if you reflect back on all the different businesses you've done in the past, there are elements of why you're here on the planet and what are you here to do, whether it be the way you were running the business, or what the product was, or what the service was, or how you interacted with the world while in the context of that business. Within those contexts are the hints in the answer to that question. Why are you here on the planet? What are you here to do? Okay. If you've never been an entrepreneur and you're thinking about it and you're really driven and really want it, and despite my saying that it is like the craziest thing to do, to take on, if if you haven't been an entrepreneur and you're looking to make that leap, awesome, and you still want to do it, then the idea of your business, the idea of the business that you want to, that's going to help answer that question of why you're here on this planet and what are you here to do. Okay. So start with that. Okay, if you want to so how do I get started? How do I get started creating this momentum? How do I start the new year off right this year as an entrepreneur? Drop everything right now and answer those two questions. Why are you here on the planet? What are you here to do? Start there and then build down from there. And that will help you shape, okay, what am I going to do this year that's different from the last year? Okay, if I have a better awareness of why I'm here, what I'm here to do, then I should be able to get clear on what those goals are. Okay. Now, what we want to do then next is set those big goals. Okay. Set the big goals that make sense. Okay. Now, how you know, now some big goals when you said, and I've done this, and I've set a big goal and I said, I'm going to make $1 million this year. And last year I only made 300,000 and stuff like that. And I said, great, I'm going to set that goal anyway. And I'm going to do it. But I'm not just going to set it and just like forget about it. Okay. How do I kind of like test the validity of it? Okay. Test my conviction and my commitment to do that. It's to take the time to break it down to as small bite pieces as possible and see if you can fit all those small bite-sized pieces into 1 year. Okay, and really kind of like hold yourself accountable for, the reality of it all. Okay. I love no offense to any of those people who are doing the manifestation prosperity work. I believe in all that. In fact, I apply a lot of that. My students will tell you that and will confirm that we apply a lot of those manifestation techniques and the prosperity techniques and everything like that. But we also live in a world where the entire world is not living in that way. Okay, keep that in mind. The reason why you can't solely live in the world of the woo and prosperity and manifestation techniques and just kind of oming to success, because the only way that would work is if 100% of the population on the planet operates the same way. The likelihood of that happening is probably very slim. Okay, so in order to be able to be as successful as possible, in the world that we live in the capitalistic world that we live in, is that we have to incorporate essences of all things, including the woo, including the prosperity, including the manifestation, including the om, including scientific work, including the reality of things as we see it, in terms of checking in with yourself to see if your vessel has the capability of achieving those small bite pieces. Okay. Think about a baby. Okay. Now, when we're adults and we say, got to eat a steak, okay, or even a petite filet mignon, okay, it's like not that big. It's like this round or something like that. If you're watching, it's like only this big. And as an adult, you say, yeah, I can eat that, no problem, right? But if we were to give that to an infant, okay, who is still on Gerber, like, soft foods, and tell them to eat that steak, it doesn't matter how small the bite-sized pieces are, they're still not going to be able to eat it. Okay. Have the strength to kind of be real with yourself, know where you are in your business, so that when those small bite-sized pieces and you're cutting it, cutting it, cutting, and that big goal, and it looks like, I can't even take that one bite, then maybe that goal is not meant for 2018. Maybe that goal is more like a 5-year goal or a 3-year goal, or maybe it's just for 2019. So if you were to have that goal, would the small bite-sized pieces be easier for you? Okay. Instead of making 1 million. Okay. For example, in my particular case, if I made 300,000 1 year and I said, I want to make 1 million, which would be to get the 500,000 or the million? So cutting that in half would make it so that all I had to do was basically bring in another 200,000 in new revenue on top of the 300,000 that I was normally bringing in, to hit that goal. Okay. And that's actually what I had to do, because I broke it down to those small bite-sized pieces. I was like, oh, I can't even take one bite on that one right now. Okay. So really, really important this is how you test to see if your big goals are worth setting for 2018. Okay. So let's start doing that today. Start off, drop everything, start with the 2 questions. Why are you here on the planet? What are you here to do? Okay. And really take the time to journal that out and kind of write it down, document that piece. Okay. So that you can compare it year after year after year to make sure that you are staying consistent, you're on track, or if you've grown. Set those big goals and then do it by taking time to break it down to small bite-sized pieces to double check to see if it's possible in this year. Okay. And then if so, then actually do those pieces. Start taking action on those pieces and create strategies around that. Remember, your unconscious mind is going to step in. So be willing to kind of be kind to your inner self and have that conversation and explain to your inner self, seriously, as to why this is something that we need to do. We being you, yourself, and you. Okay. All right. So I think that's enough for this week in terms of how to start the new year off as an entrepreneur. Would love to hear your thoughts. Would love to hear your questions. Again, if you're not catching us live, that's okay because you can always go to the chat, put a comment in. Our teams are constantly monitoring this. So if you have any questions that come in, make sure you do so. And we're not hard to connect with. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, we're on YouTube, we're on Instagram, we're all over the place. So it's use us as a resource. We are here to support the masses as best we can. And this is our commitment for this year at the Six Figure Academy with the Money Lab podcast is to bring in as many experts, as many amazing people as possible to give you, the listener, an opportunity to really kind of shift and change what is possible for you and make this year the best year ever for you. Okay. So that's our show for this week. Again, if you found this episode to be valuable and know of someone else that could benefit from it, what we talked about today, then totally just share it. Okay. I mean, sharing is caring. You have to share this. And quite frankly, that's kind of the way we actually are able to reach more people. If, individuals like you, like I said, if you are a fan, another way to pay it forward is to rate and review us on iTunes, Spreaker, or like the episode on Google Live. Again, share it and kind of give your 2 cents on it. Would love to hear your thoughts. Don't be shy. Honestly, that's one of the best ways for us to reach more people and how we get the message out there on how to create that six-figure lifestyle. And that's independent of whether or not you're an entrepreneur, thinking about being an entrepreneur, or even if you're committed to that 9 to 5 corporate lifestyle, that's cool too. Okay. Anything like that. So that's basically it for this week. Again, Happy New Year to everybody. That's a wrap. Take this week to apply the knowledge from today. Have an amazing week, and we'll catch you next week on the Money Lab live podcast from the Six Figure Academy. Again, Happy New Year. Welcome to 2018. This is Wei signing off. All right. And for those of you on YouTube, I'm going to sign off here as well. Looking forward to having more of you come on live when it happens every Tuesday at noon. So we'll see you then. And even if I'm not here, I'll be at the office or maybe I'm on the road. Okay. We'll see ya.